Hello and welcome to this very quick video on OpenTX. It's to answer a very specific question from a gentleman called Peter. Now Peter is using glow fuel and gas engines and he wants to have a throttle cut, but he doesn't want the throttle cut that would work all the time, because when he's flying he doesn't want to accidentally hit it and cut the engine, but he wants to activate it only when he's at an idle in the pit area. Now that is relatively easy to do. So Peter, this one's for you, but who knows, someone else might be able to get something from it. So let's just show you how this would work. Here is the model. Let's just simulate it. So here's the radio. There's all the other gubbins in the top right hand corner. Now the throttle goes from -100 to +100. It's there on the right hand side. Now, typically the way that a gas engine would work is you would have a particular position would be to stop the engine, to cut off the fuel mixture so that it doesn't run. And so what you could have is typically you're going to have something like this. So what you'll have is you'll actually have it going from 100% to maybe -90 arbitrarily. And that little last bit 10% throttle there just is enough to just keep the engine ticking over. And then when you want to kill the engine, you just pull your throttle cut, the little servo closes the carburetor or whatever it is, and that chokes off the engine and it stops. But obviously if you want to start it, then what you need to do is you need to have the switch in the back position, and then you can put your globe plug bits and pieces on, your starter, whatever, and off you go and you can fly. However, this way round, when you're flying and then you flick the throttle cut, it doesn't do anything. You can still fly. And in this particular instance, throttle cut only works when you're just down on the ground, it's just ticking over, and you pull the throttle cut and it immediately stops the throttle. Now I would also add a traditional throttle cut as well, so that if something does happen in the air, I don't know, maybe the prop comes off or something like that, you can dead stick it. But let me just show you how I've done this. If you're interested in trying to go at this yourself, this is the place to just pause the video, start Companion and have a go. There's always multiple ways to sort anything like this out, but this is how I've done it. So nothing in flight modes. In the inputs, it's a standard setup of stuff. In the mixes, it's a standard setup of stuff. All I've done in the outputs is that I've changed the minimum for the throttle, which is channel 1, to only go down to -90, and that would be whatever number it needs to be for the engine to tick over comfortably to idle, basically. Now, the other things I've got in here, I have something called a logical switch. So if I just show you how that's working, you can see here that it's going to detect when the throttle is less than -80 and SJ is not in the back position. So what that means is if SJ switches in the back position, you never get it on. That's fine. If SJ is not in the back position, but the throttle is above -80, logical switch 1 doesn't come on until it drops below that level, and bang, there's logical switch 1 coming on. So we can use these two things together to actually make the smart throttle cut. So now we can say that when logical switch is on, override channel 1, which is the throttle, with a value of -100. Again, that would be whatever servo position is needed to cut off the fuel and to stall the engine. And that's the way it's working. So here we have it. So at the moment we are flying around, everything's all working, and in the air, if we catch it, it doesn't matter, the throttle still works. Then if we come down and we are just moving around, we actually come to the flight line, we're finished, we're ready to stop it, it's just ticking over on idle. If we pull the throttle cut, because that is not the back position and the throttle is below -80%, it pushes the throttle down to the very bottom, and that would stop the engine. There's loads of different ways to do it. Again, I would just be careful with this because I'm not a big fan of being able to fly around and not having any way to stop the engine completely. But I potentially would add that on another switch, or maybe have it that in the top position it completely overrode the throttle irrespective of what was going on. In fact, we can set that up very quickly. So if we say if SJ is in the front position, override channel 1, with -100. Again, we'll turn that on, simulate that. So now we have our smart cut. So as flying it round, we do the cut throttle. It's only going to cut the throttle when it comes down. Okay, so normal operation is we can fly. However, if we're flying around, okay, and because it's over 8%, it's not going to trip, but something horrible happens and we have to kill the engine, then we have a hard throttle cut at the top. That's probably the way I would do it. I'd have kind of your smart throttle cut, which only works when the throttle is in the low position. And I'd have, when you're flying around, I'd have the hard throttle cut, which just lets you absolutely make sure that the motor won't start. Thank you for watching my video and watching right to the very end. If you want to find out what I'm currently working on, you can follow me on social media by searching for Painless360 in the usual places. If you'd like to become part of the inner circle, then you can become a Patreon. Details are in the description and you get lots of additional benefits. Check out the playlist section on the channel too. I organise all of my videos into playlists and it's called something like Introduction to or for Beginners. All of the content is aimed so that you can start at the very beginning and it teaches you that subject, starting with simple principles and moving up to teach you everything you need to know.